let's talk about OSDU. So we had an initial conversation during our last, let me ensure that you guys are seeing the correct screen here. Kelly, can you confirm? Can you see my full screen?
Yes, we can.
Perfect, super.
Yep.
Okay, so I'll say the first things first is hello and welcome again to this users group. One day we will be in 3 dimensions again, hopefully soon, but for now, let's enjoy our virtual meeting. So talking about OSDU, we have been working with this community and with this project, and today we are very happy to bring one of our key partners on this journey, which is Microsoft. Today, I have a special guest. Kadri, do you mind just quickly introducing yourself and saying hello to the community?
Sure, absolutely. Thanks, Catalina. This is Kadri. I hope you can hear me well. This is Kadri Umay. I do work for Azure Global Energy Team, and I've been leading our OSDU engagement for more than 2 years, and I'm now part of I'm a principal program manager in the data platform team today, where we're looking into getting the OSDU to the next level with our partners like TIBCO.
Yeah, phenomenal. And so today we're gonna be sharing where we are with this project, and also, you know, important what's next and how we are gonna continue our collaboration to ensure success of this project. So what I'm gonna be showing right now is this journey, and we're gonna describe different stages of this journey. Yep. So we have been covering this in different, let me be sure, still seeing the full screen now? Kelly?
Sorry?
Are you, okay, perfect.
Yes, yeah.
Yep. I can hear and see, yep.
Perfect. Okay, so just being sure that everybody's in the same page. OSDU stands for Open Source Surface Data Universe, right? So this is an initiative from the Open Group OSDU Forum, and they are developing a standard. It's a standard data platform for the oil and gas industry, which will reduce the silos and put the data at the center of the subsurface community. This is an effort that has been going on for some time now. We have been making some progress. We call that progress an R1 release, on R2 release, on R3 release. We're going to explain a little bit what that means. But I think basically what we want to highlight here is that the ultimate goal of the OSDU data platform is to bring all the data together into a single platform, right? So exploration, development, wells data into this one single data platform with a set of RESTful APIs on top of it. So the idea there is that anybody can benefit from these APIs. And at the end, we want to put on top an application that is going to consume all this data in a very standard way. So it's an open source based configuration. We are thinking about the REST APIs and what are we going to do with that data. And the idea is that you differentiate on what you do with the data instead of how you get the data, which I think is the right approach for this kind of end-to-end solutions in the industry. Now, this will enable the community, thinking about the last 10 years of digital transformation, where we face again and again the situation where the analyst or the engineer is actually trying to make the most out of this data, but is still facing situations where the data is not as clean as possible, or is still facing situations evaluating different Excel worksheets to compile all this data and all of that. So the goal behind here is that the community, oil and gas community, is after this project, we have over 160 companies that are working together, that are collaborating, that are innovating, and that are sharing the knowledge for this to happen, which I personally think is a very cool shift within a community that now understands the importance of, you know, democratizing this data and accessing this data to enhance the analytics of it and enhance the use of machine learning and AI. But for that to happen, we need to have a common ground, and we need to have common set of parameters for us to consume this data in the same way. So Kadri, I'm gonna give it to you. Let's share with the audience more about Microsoft and the involvement that you guys have with the OSDU project within the energy vertical,
Sure.
and how they are collaborating, with the industry, and how you guys are driving this project as well.
Sure, absolutely. And I can also share my screen just to be okay.
Yep, you got it.
Super. Thank you. There we go. Yeah, thanks.
Coming up.
Yep, and I can even try to start the video. Okay, let's forget about it for the timing. Okay, cool. So thank you very much, Catalina, for inviting us for this. I think our partnership with TIBCO is very important in this, especially in initiatives like OSDU. Because to me, if you ask me what is different in OSDU when compared with other initiatives that we've tried to do in the industry for many years, even decades, is the collaboration. So there's a very interesting initiative where I think first time in the industry you see and by the way, I mean, I think we're now 200 plus members as we speak. It's the first time in the industry where we see people collaborate, and I've seen competitors that don't talk to each other even collaborate but at certain features. So we're so thankful for the OSDU forum and then our leaders there to provide the right environment so that we can work together for the benefit of the industry. Now, probably a very simple overview of what OSDU is, and I tend to do this in every call because it's sometimes you have people who would like to understand the key OSDU foundation and why it's different. I think again it's technologically interesting, and I'll show you a little bit about the innovations that we're bringing here jointly. But I think what's important is the collaborative development of this gray boxes that you see here. So a lot of great minds are coming together to collaboratively build this, and then there are also some interesting principles that we put day one. So one, we do acknowledge that there's a ton of different data sources, data types, data formats, I mean file formats and access formats, etc. that's in the industry. So day one, we just said you can store any raw file into this platform, and then that's why we use technologies like Blob Store and other platforms where you can store pretty much any type. The second principle is we have to find the common way to find this data, to use this data. So for that purpose, we introduced the thing which is called manifest, which is an index of the metadata, and then this index could get interesting but enrichment processes by adding more and more features into this. But I really like the analogy of OSDU being a library, and then all of these manifest or metadata definitions becoming the library cards. So you can search the library with the library cards, you can get the book, and then you can read the book to get further details into that. And then the third thing I think which is super important is the APIs. So here we are basically providing 3 sets of APIs. As simple as that. One set of API is basically you call that endpoint and just say, here's my raw file located, and then here's the index. Could you please put it into the system? So we call it ingestion. It goes through different steps. It gets indexed, etc. But that's the first thing. The second thing is search. So search is based on Lucene syntax. We've been partnering with Elasticsearch. So basically, you can search any way you want, and then it gets you back the information in the shape you want. So search is where you find the data. And once you find the data, the third one is the delivery API. The delivery API is where you say, I want to get this book, and then that book is delivered to you. And we are also looking into some advanced functionality there, like we've included OpenEDS at the early stages, where you can access a seismic file through a random access and through a streaming approach. And then there are other things, and we call these domain data management extensions where you can provide high performance access to that data. So collaboration and this joint work and these simple principles we set up, it made it highly adopted. And then the green section you hear is where we partner with the ecosystem to build those applications. And now this ecosystem, I believe, is much more happy because now we don't ask them to go and write connectors for 500 different APIs to 500 different backend systems. Instead, what we're telling them is now you can use these 3 APIs to interact with the system, and that's all you need to know. Now you can go and spend time with the focus and with the magic that you can bring into this. So that's kind of like the OSDU principle. And just one thing I think which is important here is as this platform evolves, that also a good feedback mechanism to all of our engineering teams. That's why I'm part of Azure Engineering and directly engage with this initiative. So we don't see it as something that we contribute, but we see it as a true engineering, true co-innovation project, because most of this feedback generates product features and those kind of things to be implemented. So looking back a little bit, this was kicked off by 8 operators, talking about what needs to be done, what's their requirements, and all of these 8 operators were sort of like working on their own data platform initiatives, and they got together and they said, "Hey, we need to work together to make this happen," and that's the only way to be successful. So then what we did is what we did is one of the things we did is we got together, and the OSDU forum put as a target, and then they said, you know what, in I think it was March 2019, they said that we'll put some code, open source some of the code that Shell has contributed, and then we want you to build us a working demo in less than 4 months. And then we said, well, yeah, I mean, let's see how it's going to work. And I think nobody believed at that stage that this could be achieved. And then as we started that discussion on how we're going to architect this system, how we're going to build it in 4 months, then there was another challenge that was brought to us, which was like, yeah, now we want you to work with 3 ISVs, so CGG, INT, and well-log data at that time now, Subsurface IO. And I said, you need to work with these 3 ISVs and make sure that their application works on your platform. And we said, great. And I think that push made this a very successful project. So once again, thanks for the OSDU leadership. That was deployed somewhere July in 2019. And then in July 2019, we presented to the forum. That's where we got a lot of members, and it was delivering the well data, well header, well bore, well log. That was the first step, and we delivered that demo. Again, one of the principles as Microsoft, what we wanted to follow is we want to deploy this in real world, see the results, get that feedback, and do that iterative approach as we move forward towards the different releases. So that's why right after demo, we started engaging with operators, we started engaging with partners, and today we're working with a lot of operators. We have deployed R1 on a bunch of these operators. Some of them started with R2. We're moving towards with R3 with all these operators, and as we move forward, one of the things we've seen is like this. While it's a community approach, open source, we're contributing, but as we move towards this, we have to have also a plan on how this could be a supportable platform through our partners and through our customers. So and then that would only be possible with providing an engineering rigor into this project and having a first-class citizen on Azure together with our partners, as I said. So for that reason, we had a direct engineering to engineering connection, both with the operators, the partners that are adopting, and also the OSDU forum directly. So now we have one of our engineering leaders in OSDU OMC directly working with this initiative. And as you all know, as we move forward, we had the Schlumberger code donated, and then we start working with them. We released R2 sometime March 2019, and now we're working towards R3. And when we come towards R3, we'll have it tested with partners. We'll have it tested with at least 5-6 super majors, and then we'll be able to exactly tell how it scales, how resilient it is, how secure it is, and how do we build this. And as I said, the engineering to engineering engagement here, it provides us with the capability to build those capabilities directly into the Azure services and Azure platforms. That's where we're moving forward, and we have a lot to do. I'm not going to get into these one by one, but there's a lot of new work streams that's going until we have the R3 operationally ready. We've released this open source, the whole deployment and the Azure environment. You can see the link here, where it's in the community GitLab site for OSDU. There's a step-by-step deployment guide here. We're testing this step-by-step deployment guide. We're improving it by the day, and now we have partners and customers testing this. We have internal teams. Our Houston Microsoft Technology Center is doing the deployment and is providing customer connections and MTC sessions virtually and hopefully in 3-dimensional in the future. If you go to that site, you'll see the platform architecture. This is the last one we released, so it's fully built on microservices architecture with AKS, and the data is on Cosmos DB, and then there's a whole lot of technical improvements and then technical services that we're introducing into the platform. It's also changing the way we partner. So we have the Microsoft App Source, for instance. We're releasing joint products with partners that support OSDU. We're integrating with the Microsoft stack. So day to day, your end users are using a lot of Microsoft applications, especially the Office 365 applications for their day-to-day work. So we're also working on integrating the OSDU with those day-to-day applications so that they can be highly productive. And then there's also a bunch of innovations coming from Microsoft, like anything from a data center, which you can put in the bottom of the sea, all the way to the top 5 supercomputer of the world that we've just announced with OpenAI, and then like modular data centers that we just announced a few weeks back. So I just want to conclude with go to AKMS App Source. This is the Microsoft App Source. We've released almost every product jointly with TIBCO on the App Source marketplace. You can easily deploy from here. There's a lot of information, and then today you'll see the demo that Catalina is going to present on how we integrate TIBCO Spotfire with the Azure OSDU backend. So with that, I'll hand it over to Catalina for the demo, which is probably the most interesting part with this. Thanks, Catalina.
No, Kadri, this is actually phenomenal information. I think it's always good to understand the journey that a project like this, implies, and also the collaboration aspect of it, which I think is fascinating. So as you mentioned at the beginning, we said we have the OSDU ecosystem, and I said 160 and you said over 200 and something. So I think daily we have new companies and partners, and the ecosystem just keeps growing with the same common goal, which is let's ensure that we have a very defined structure on how we're going to consume this data, and let's generate innovation, which means what are we going to do with that data on top of it, right? How we're going to leverage the OSDU APIs, and how we're going to ask questions with a query that is like human-like question kind. And you said we have 3 APIs to interact with the system, and at the end, we are trying to simplify the way that the community interacts with this data and asks questions about this data, right? So I think it's important for us to highlight the fact that we are working together at many levels, not only as Azure working on the entire OSDU project and being on top of the architecture, the platform, and the different releases, but at the same time, working in parallel together with the ecosystem and ensuring that the final users that are going to have access to this data are able to connect the dots behind the scenes, right? So I think it's important to highlight the fact that, number one, we are very aware of the diverse ecosystem that we are working with. Therefore, for us, it's important to maintain our cloud agnostic capability of testing this OSDU data, right? So stage one for us is being able to connect to the different test environments that are being offered. But today we're hosting Microsoft. So as soon as we connect to the Microsoft OSDU test environment, we will be able to, first of all, authenticate, right? So we will have to ensure that we can create anything that is needed for us to pass those authentication credentials, verify that we have access to the data, and verify that we can actually use those REST API to call the data in the way that the analyst wants to call the data. So what you're seeing right now is after passing that authentication, having the connector, having the authentication credentials, and passing that authentication credentials, the next goal for the ecosystem will be to ask the questions that they need to ask regarding this data, right? So challenge number one is to having this data, and we mentioned at the beginning, and Kari, you mentioned that as well. We have so many different types and formats, and the oil and gas community handles a very diverse set of data types and formats. So at the end, having the opportunity to call all of these data using the set of APIs that is being standardized by the OSDU project and asking specific questions for them to ask slides and work with that data in the way that we need to. So what kind of data are we bringing into the table? We are bringing well trajectory, well market, we are bringing well logged data, we are bringing seismic data, but at the end we need to ensure that we can ask the questions about this data and that we can visualize the general behind the scenes, as in what is behind the scenes in the test environment in this case, or what is behind the scenes my OSDU environment in the near future, right? So I wanted to highlight the fact that we are also working together with the OSDU ecosystem, aligning on what it means to have an OSDU use case, right? So for the OSDU community, stage one is, hey, let me ensure that I have a good visibility into what is in this environment. So can I see what storage size I have, what kind of information, where it's coming from, a general overview of my master data, a general overview of what do I have to work with in terms of that data. So that has been stage one, and we have been collaborating in that. We have the common set of APIs and queries that are behind the scenes that we are using to produce this data, and Kadri has been working with the same set of queries and APIs. So that's part of the good thing about this project, is that everything is available for the community. So Kadri also mentioned we have groups that are actually testing these, and we need to continue test these and ensure that we know how to connect these dots and enhance the use of this data. So what you are seeing right here right now is Spotfire displaying OSDU data after connecting and authenticating to the OSDU Azure test environment. But then after that is, well, we can actually enhance this. What are we going to do to enhance this? And what else are we going to do in terms of AI and machine learning? So here is where we start just combining everything else that we can add on top of that. Because once the data is there, everything else, I mean, the sky's the limit, right? So you can consume open source machine learning, for example. This is using our new framework on Spotfire 11 to create mods, for example. And in this case, we're using OSDU data and the new framework on Spotfire 11 to create mods that are actually good related to the OSDU data itself, right? So this is the part that comes after. We said OSDU actually drives innovation, and the innovation comes into how we're going to consume this data that now all the community can consume in the same way now that we standardize that. And that's part of what I actually find very, very nice, fascinating about this project. So that's a general overview of what we have going on from the OSDU perspective. At this time, I'm going to open it for questions. If any from the audience, anybody that wants to ask questions to me or to Kadri, this is a good opportunity. I do have, let me see.
Yeah, there's a question there about, do these visuals only come with Spotfire 11? The answer is no. What we were just, Catalina was just demoing was Spotfire 10. I am going to talk a little bit about Spotfire 11 in the wrap up here. And there is some exciting, additions in Spotfire 11, but everything Catalina showed was Spotfire 10.
Yeah, so just for clarification, the Spotfire 11 piece is the framework that is offering the possibility to create that visualization. That's what we call Spotfire mods, and we're gonna highlight a couple of things on that in the next session. But the conclusion here is that we can use this data and the standardization and the way that we are consuming this data to enhance the analytics on it, and that the new Spotfire framework would allow you to go further with that data. As an example, the well log can be produced after that using the new framework. So with that, I'm going to pass it back to Michael. Yeah.
Yeah, very good. Great job. Great presentation, Catalina and Kadri and Vaibhav.